They ran the survey. Okay, hey, last month on the show we spoke to a Kiwi man who's one of about 100 detainees taking part in a hunger strike at Yongah Hill Detention Centre in Perth. The group has been drinking just milk and water for 44 days. And now, a few of them are about to ramp the protest up.
The group is protesting changes to Australia's immigration laws that mean New Zealanders can now be deported if they're deemed a threat to the country. Hundreds of New Zealanders are being held in detention centres, often for years at a time. On Friday, Jacinda Ardern told the Australian Prime Minister it's a sore point.
In my view, this issue has become corrosive in our relationship over time. The New Zealand people have a dim view of the deportation of people who moved to Australia as children and have grown up there.
Having previously denied the hunger strike, the Australian Border Force now acknowledges that a number of detainees are refusing food as part of a peaceful protest.
Another day in hunger strike. Feeling a bit upset and depressed. I feel like I'm a nobody. That's what this place does to you.
The detainees at Yongah Hill Detention Centre have been keeping video diaries as the strike progresses.
Fed Aboriginal man, feels like I've been kidnapped in my own country. I want to go home to my babies, you know, my wife. She's stressing out. I'm not there. I need to be there with my kids.
Well, this government they're ruthless. When you get kicked out of the country, you've got to start over again. You know? And when you start over again, it's just another headache. We'll never know if I go back to New Zealand, I might be homeless, there might be no support. I've got no family, no nothing. All my family's over here.
42 days hunger strike. Now they put in the hunger strike to another level without food, without water, without shower, without nothing. I do this for my family. I'm gonna do this for my freedom, for my peace. I wanna live a normal life. A normal life. Exactly like you.
Well, Filipa Payne is a New Zealander who is fighting for the rights of these detainees. Filipa, the Australian government and Aussie media have all but ignored this story. So are these guys telling the truth?
I think that there's aspects of the fact that the Australian government would like to keep this shut down, especially at a time when the refugee issue is at the forefront for offshore detention. Who wants their citizens to know that in their onshore there's actually situations going on too? I also am aware that some men are eating, and I've said all along that there's people who can't physically be in this hunger strike because of their own health and their own well-being, but they are going out in support, and some days eating and some days not. But I know for a fact, because I speak to these people daily, that there is a core group of people in Yongah Hill that are on a hunger strike, starving.
And Filipa, how do you think this is likely to end?
I don't know how this is going to end. They're the only people that can decide this. All I hope is that it ends peacefully and that no one's life is taken.
What's your connection to all this?
My connection started 7 years ago when my oldest daughter actually couldn't attend university in Australia, and I just started being a voice advocating as a mother. And I can tell you, as a person that's been inside the detention centres and now sadly visited hundreds of men, it's heartbreaking. And for myself as a person, as a mother and as a human, I couldn't walk away and not acknowledge the abuse that's going on in our Pacific islands and say that it's okay.
You might have been encouraged this week to hear Jacinda Ardern actually at least mention this issue. What more do you want from her?
It'll be great to see the Labor Party step forward as a unit and a political entity of our country and say, we stand by our citizens in Australia. They are not doing okay. We need to address this issue.
Filipa, thanks so much for your time tonight.
This is the only thing, the only connection they have to New Zealand is that they were born here, right? Everything else in their lives. What happened to you, Australia? Mm-hmm. You used to be friendly, you used to be caring, welcoming. What changed? When did you become so angry and vitriolic and despotic? Do you need a hug? What's going on?
True. The weird thing is how little coverage there is in the mainstream media in Australia. There's a little bit in the West Australian press and SBS, I think, which is the kind of multicultural channel, the government-owned channel, have covered it, but very little else.
So are we surprised though? I mean, it's harsh, but it's maybe hard for people to find sympathy with these guys who are ex-criminals stuck between two countries. Neither country seems to want them, and so they're not the sort of stories that media often like to tell. No one really feels for
Not
them.
just criminals, though. It's detainees, refugees as well.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it remains, even if you sort of don't like the look of these fellas and you're like, oh, you can write them off as a bad guy, it is a bizarre policy that would pick them off and send them here, like you say.
Yeah.